Hey guys, I just won a tournament. Look at this cup. Media Chess Cup. I won the Almaty leg of it. It's a tournament among journalists and bloggers, content creators from Kazakhstan. There are lots of them, and they were playing in two editions of this tournament, one in Almaty, the biggest city, and another one in Astana, which is the capital, but it's a smaller city. And I won the Almaty edition with 6.5 out of 7 points. Also, I got a couple of medals like this. And I'll show you some games from this event. And in particular, I'll show you the games from the superfinal. It was a very interesting format because, first of all, we played 7 rapid rounds, which determined the winner of the Almaty and the Astana legs of this event. I played in Almaty. And then, after that, first and second places of Almaty and Astana were competing against each other online on lichess for the super final and title of Kazakhstan Media Cup winners and prize holders. So it was very exciting. It was an event where I was playing sitting on the stage but playing online, like the esports World Cup, something like that. There were spectators, they were clapping when I won the game, for example. So yeah, very, very unforgettable experience. I won some prize money, and yeah, it was fun. Let me show you several games. Before we start, let me tell you that I was playing some crazy chess. I sacrificed material in all of my games, and it somehow all the time worked out in the offline part. And then came online part, and I was like, I'm playing a match. I don't need to win every game. I need to play more adequately. Let's see if I managed to do that. So let me show you the board. Also, the match was 2 rapid games, 10+2. If the match is drawn after 2 games, then the blitz tiebreak happens. So I will not spoil anything for you guys. Let's just enjoy the games. So my opponent is rated around 2000, but he's around 50 years old, so he's practically retired from chess. So I thought that I should be the favorite in this match, even though our rating is pretty much similar. So he goes d4, knight f6, and so we get this setup, which is, I think it's called the zuckertort colle system, zuckertort colle system. And it's not a very ambitious setup. You will see by the eval bar that it is considered equal by the engine, because the most principled way to play against what I did would be to push the pawn to e4 instead of e3 and e4, c4. That's the more principled approach, but okay, what he played is also perfectly fine. And here I use this cagey setup. All my pieces are on those 3 ranks, and it might seem that I'm passive, but no, I'm ready to strike with either c5 or e5 and attack, and my bishop on b7 is a monster. This bishop also potentially will open up, and yeah, I like my position here. Rook e1, rook e8, I hint at e4 and e5, e4 maybe, and that's why he wants to do this as well. He goes e4, but I push e5. And c3, I really didn't like this move. When he made this move, I'm like, what is this move? You're killing your own bishop. And yeah, the engine agrees that now black is better. And apparently I should have just struck in the center with d5. I did this later. I didn't realize immediately that it is a good move, but it's the best move. Instead, I went a5. I decided not to spend too much time in the opening and middle game to not get too low on time, because that was my problem in the offline event. I often went down to seconds, and I had to trick my opponents with seconds on the clock. Like most of the time it worked, but I won all the games except for one, in which I made a draw, but I was losing in like at least 3 of the games objectively. I just sacrificed stuff and hope that it will work out in the end, and it did, but that's not the way you should play chess if you are a professional. I don't know what happened to me on that day. So he goes rook c1 here, and again d5 is the best move. I should strike in the center, but somehow I don't spend too much time. I go knight h5. I decide that, okay, I'll go to f4. This is a good plan very often when white puts the bishop on b2, because from c1, the bishop controls f4. But when the bishop is on b2, it's no longer controlling f4. f4 is a weakness. And once I go to f4, this is weak. I pressure this and I may attack. He goes g3, preventing that. I go h6. I didn't know what to do. I here thought for half a minute. Again, d5 is one of the moves that's recommended, but I decided, you know what? I'll go h6. I'll go here. Maybe sooner rather than later, I will create some attack on the king side. That was my plan, because g3 definitely is a weakening. And if he puts the bishop on g2, then f5 becomes easier for me. But he puts the bishop on b1. And here I decide, okay, I'll go d5. It's actually a very decent move. Finally, I realized that it's a good move. This bishop is a little bit stupid now. He takes, I take, and now he goes c4. And I realized that there is a problem. e5 will be hanging, so I will have to give up my light squared bishop. And I was unhappy at this point. I'm like, okay, you played too fast, then you played too slow, and then you played too stupidly. Okay, he'll have the two bishops advantage, but turns out that the engine says it's perfectly fine for me. I now take here because otherwise everything will collapse on e5. My position is very precarious here, so I have to be precise. So I take, he takes back, I take on e1, he takes with the queen, and I go knight c5. I decide, you know what, he can take and spoil my pawn structure, but my bishop will be an uncontested dark squared bishop. Potentially I can plant it on d4, for example, putting pressure. And his bishop is not too impressive here. He has lots of pawns on light squares. So I decided, you know what, yes, the pawns will be maybe not too good, but I will push a4 at some point. I will attack him, and I have great compensation for my spoiled pawn structure. So he didn't do that. He was somehow not happy about this position. He took, I took, and he went rook d1. I just went queen f6, and it's an equal position, but I think that potentially my knights are stronger than his bishop and knight, because his bishop, as I already told you, is not too impressive. He would have loved to put it on a1, for example, to make it a dark squared bishop, but it's a light squared bishop instead. And my knights can dominate the position very, very easily. If they go here, 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 something like that, you will see what happens next. So he goes king g2 because the knight was hanging. I go rook e8, gaining a tempo on the queen. Whenever you can develop a piece with a tempo, attacking your opponent's piece or delivering a check, for example, and you at the same time develop your piece, it's a good thing to do usually. So he goes queen to 2, and I go knight f5. This was like, again, psychology. I was nervous. I was sitting on the stage. I have lots of excuses. None of them are good enough, but knight f5 is not a good move. Obviously, it's not a horrible move. The evaluation doesn't change too much. It's plus 0.3, and it was 0.0. But still, like, why do you go knight? I immediately realized once I do this that he can take. And if I take with the queen, he'll take on h6. So this could have happened. Takes, takes, and takes. And he also has knight g5 with the taking idea. So I cannot take with the queen. And I realized, okay, I'll have to take with the pawn. Apparently it's nothing too crazy, nothing to be worried. But those pawns, like, what are those pawns? That was not necessary to do this knight f5. Very rash decision. From afar, I wanted to take with the queen, but then I remembered that the h6 pawn is vulnerable. Thankfully, he did not take. Maybe he believed my bluff. Maybe he thought that I have some play on the g file after this, and f4 maybe here, something like that. But it doesn't work. So he went queen f4, and now knight e6, and that's an interesting moment because he started thinking here, and I thought, okay, if he goes here, which is kind of a logical move, I thought that I might have some tactics because the knight is controlling the queen, is defending the queen, and it is overworked. And I thought, what if I go knight h4 check? And if he takes the knight, I'll take the queen, I'll win the queen. So queen e5, knight h4 check, but then he has this taken, but then I have knight f4 check, and this is exactly what happens. Queen e5. But somehow there was some glitch in my mind, and I'm like, I wanted to start with queen knight f4, and then here And if he takes with a pawn, I take the queen. But he can take with a knight. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. And I made a different move. And then only after the game did I see that I just should have inverted the move order. It's a very important lesson for you guys. When you see some tactic and it doesn't work, think about whether you can invert the move order. So knight f4 check, while being an enticing move, does not work. Because if he takes here, you win the queen, obviously very good. But he can take here. And once he takes here, he goes here, knight h4 doesn't work because he is not obliged to take here and lose the queen. He can just take here or here and be winning. But I should have inverted the move order. Knight h4 first was completely winning because he has to take with a pawn, because if the knight takes, I take the queen. He has to take with a pawn, and now knight f4, and his queen is lost. He has to give up the queen, and I'm completely winning. So I missed this opportunity. Instead, I took, after thinking for 10 seconds, not enough. I should have spent more time and won the game here, but still, okay, it happens. It's rapid chess. In classical, obviously, I find these tactics. Knight takes, and now knight d4. And I'm like, okay, I've traded the queens, and I think I can beat this man in the endgame. Somehow I was so confident on that day. I'm like, I'm gonna beat him. Even though the endgame is more or less equal. The engine says it's minus 0.2, so my knights are a little bit stronger than his knight and bishop, because, again, his bishop is not doing anything too impressive. And my knight on d4 is such a great piece. So I decided I'll play for a win. I'll outplay him in the endgame. Let's see if I manage to do that. He goes knight d7. I go here, because that was a fork threatened. He goes c5, and I immediately, from afar, while he was thinking, I'm like, I think he'll go c5, and then I'll win a pawn with rook d8, because his knight will have to retreat, and I'll take the c5 pawn. And that's exactly what happened, because if he goes c6 here, I'll just take, and he has nothing. So he went c5. He thought for like half a minute, and during that time I thought the same things as he did, but I calculated deeper, and turns out that he just gave me this pawn, and now I am much better. I'm up a pawn, and probably objectively close to winning in the endgame, if I play precisely. So I go h5, preventing h5 by him. It's like a useful move in such positions. He goes knight c4. I go knight e6, slowly rerouting, overprotecting everything. Everything is protected in my position. All my pieces defend each other. There is not a single undefended piece in the position. You see? Beautiful geometry. So I was trying to play not to blunder anything, because I was blundering in this event a lot. I was playing crazy chess, and I was sometimes finding crazy tactics, but sometimes blundering. And here he goes rook c1. It's hard to do something for white here. Like, the engine doesn't find a good plan. Like, the engine says knight e3 and just try to wait. He went here first, trying to put pressure. But again, I'm protecting everything. He's not putting any pressure. I just maneuver my king closer to the center. In endgames, it's very important. Now I go knight e2, attacking the rook, and I want to infiltrate with my rook. He goes here, and I infiltrate. And my pieces are very active. Everything, again, is defended, as I said. His bishop is stuck defending the a2 pawn. I have some threats like rook b2, for example, and winning material. So he goes bishop e4. He just gives up this pawn. And I decide, you know what, I'm not in a rush to take it. I first attack his rook with my knight. The knights dance very nicely. And then I take a pawn. Now I'm up 2 pawns already. And my pawns, my queenside majority, will march. He goes bishop b7. He apparently wanted to go here, check, and win the c7 pawn. So check and take on c7. But the problem is that I go king e5 and attack the bishop, so he will need to spend the tempo moving the bishop, so that's why he went bishop e7. But now I go b5, I push his rook back, he goes back, now I go c5. Now this pawn again is protected and there is no longer a fork, so my pawns are matching. He goes check, check, I go here, attacks my rook, I attack his pawn, he goes here. Now anything wins here, but I wanted to be precise. So I first went here, attacking the knight that is defending the bishop, threatening to take on c3 and then take on d5. So he took my knight, but I just took back with a pawn. I still have this monster of a knight on d4, and I still have my pawns that are marching. He goes check again, and I'm not repeating the position. I just go king c6. And now rook e2, another precise move. Now he is forced to trade the rooks, because otherwise his knight on e4 will be hanging, and that's bad news for him. Trading pieces when you are down two pawns is not good, not a good idea. And now I just go knight d4 again. This knight is stuck defending the b3 pawn, and my pawns are just marching. He goes f3, and I push my pawn. He has to give up the knight, and here anything wins, but I spent some time relaxing, gathering my nerves, and calmly calculating that knight takes f3 is easily winning, because once he takes, my c-pawn is faster. I calculated that I'm queening first, and he will not be in time to queen his pawn. And that's exactly what happens. Queen g1, he's not even in time to take the pawn because I cut him off, so he resigns, and the crowd applauds in the audience. I'm like, yeah, I need now to just make a draw in the second game, and I will win the whole event. So this is the second game. I'm playing with the white pieces. I go e4, c6, the caro kann defense, and I unleash some opening prep here that I have. So h4, this is the tal variation against the caro kann, and h6, h5 is more common, and I won a nice game against an international master from India during the Asian Chess Championship in that line, where I played a gambit, very interesting gambit after queen a5 before. But it's a different story. Here he played h6, and I have some nice prep here. So bishop d3 takes, and now everybody takes with the queen, but I took with the pawn. I actually played the same thing against Vladimir Fedoseev, who is a super GM, 2700 plus rated player, and he went on my podcast, and we played that exact same line. Obviously, he crushed me, but then we agreed to a draw because he had no time in the end. But it's a very venomous line. The idea is that black often here wants to go first e6. That's what he did. And then black wants to push c5. That's like the only idea black has here, to go knight c6, queen b6. Usually that's what black does. But once black goes c5, I just take and then push another pawn to d4. So that's the idea. And I have this beautiful center. That's the idea. I saw it played by Alexander Shimanov, Russian grandmaster, and I wanted to play it here. So queen b6, knight here. I think knight f3 is more precise, but I thought for some reason that this could be also useful for me. So I went knight e2, knight e7, h5. h5 is actually the first line of the engine. It's a subtle move. The idea is that black wants to put the knight on f5, and then g4 very often comes to kick it. So black wants to push h5 to create this base on f5 for the knight, and no one will be able to touch it on f5. So that's why I go h5 myself, disallowing this base on f5, because then I'll easily be able to kick it back with g4. So he goes knight f5. First of all, he's attacking the pawn, so I cannot go g4 right away because he'll take my pawn. So first I go knight a4, attacking the queen. He goes check, and now it's very important. I don't block. I go king f1, because in those lines, it's very natural to put the king on f1, maybe after g4 go king g2, and the rook often joins the action via g3 or f3, so you don't castle. You don't need to castle. The rook is needed on h-file. And the fact that I lost the castling rights means nothing because he cannot attack me. So he goes queen d8, I kick back the knight, the bishop, I mean, and here I go bishop b2 first, g4. Also, actually, I could have gone g4 right away, because if he takes, I take. But first I went here, overprotecting d4. And I'm confident I have a nice position. He goes here, I go rook h3, first activating the rook. As I told you already, potentially the rook can join the action on the king side. He castles, I go knight c5, we trade. Now this bishop protects the e5 pawn. He goes queen here, and I push g4. Finally, this knight is kicked from its outpost. It's no longer an outpost. He goes back, and I go d4. Overprotecting everything. He cannot break my pawn chain. Well, he can try, of course, a5, b6, and something like that, but white is better in all those lines. He goes f6, trying to create an attack. He needs to win. He cannot draw, because if he draws, it's a win in the match for me. So he needs to play risky chess. But he forgets that I have knight f4. Knight f4 is very annoying, because this this will be a fork, and he cannot defend this pawn. Well, he can go king f7, but then it's not good. I can go queen here, for example, and infiltrate like this, and the king on f7 is not a good piece. So obviously, instead of that, he takes on e5. I take here. He gives me an exchange in exchange for some hopes for an attack. So I take, he takes, and I'm completely winning. And I know this, and he knows this. We both know that I'm winning. But the problem is that it's the nerves, and also we still have to play. Yes, I have a rook for a knight, extra 2 points of material, but what next? I have to convert it. So I take on e5, of course. I actually have 3 extra points of material because I now have a rook for a knight and I have an extra pawn also. I go queen d2, he goes knight g5. At least he has some activity now. He's attacking my rook. Maybe he will come on e4, but this other knight doesn't have any squares. All those squares are taken, so the knight on e7 is a horrible piece. Rook e3, he goes here, but at least he has some pressure on the f file, maybe some hopes for attack. I go e6 to open my bishop. It's the best move in the position. And he goes knight e4, attacking my queen, putting pressure here. And here I start being nervous because I know I'm winning. But how winning am I? I was calculating actually rook takes e4, and it's completely winning here. I thought that something like this would be good because I'm always putting pressure on g7. And also I no longer have this annoying knight. But I didn't like something about it. Actually, the engine says it's completely winning. I thought I should not be in a rush. Instead, I went queen e2, which does not spoil anything. Queen f4, but at least now he has those ideas of checkmating me like this. So I have to go king g2. Now rook f8. All his pieces are active and putting pressure on my f2 square. Except for this knight on the e7, which is a stupid piece. But all other pieces are putting pressure on me, and I have to do something. I defend with the rook. Still completely winning. Queen g5. Now he has an idea of putting pressure over here, maybe putting more pressure over here. And here I blunder. I blundered horribly. It's the nerves, definitely. It's the fact that I know that I need a draw. I want to simplify the position. And I decide, you know what, I'll trade the rook for this knight because I'm sick and tired of it. And I completely forget. About the move that he immediately makes on the board. It's very easy. You don't have to be a very strong player to see it with black. It's just rook f4. Immediately he finds it. And I'm lost because my position collapses. I just forgot about rook f4. If not for rook f4, white's position is amazing. White is winning. So bishop c1 will come. And yeah, I will consolidate my position and win the game. Because I have 2 extra pawns. But unfortunately, here I actually could have played bishop c1 here, and it would be an equal position according to the engine. But still, why do I take the knight then? I don't have to do anything. I can go bishop c1, and it's +4. It's +4, because if he goes rook f4 here, I can take here, and then take here. And it's just winning for me. Bishop c1 is just winning. f4, giving up a pawn, is also winning, because if he trades, he has no more material to continue the game. Then queen f3 and something like that, +4. So anything, rook h3 is +4 as well, but somehow I just blunder and I get a losing position. I cannot stop this and this. I go here, and he finds the precise moves. Now this will be threatened, so I have to give up the bishop, but unfortunately this is a losing position, and I resigned after some more moves. Like, I made some more moves out of tilt, but I resigned shortly after. 1-1, it's a draw in the rapid portion of the match, and now we get to the blitz tiebreaks. I'm playing with the black pieces, and it is the sudden death format. Whoever wins first wins the whole match. I wanted to play with the white pieces, but we drew lots, and it was assigned to me that I'll play with the black pieces. And it's a 3+1 blitz, so 1 second increment, 3 minutes per game. Let's go. And now we enter into a King's Indian defense. He realized that in the previous game where he played e3, bishop d3, b3, bishop b2, he had nothing out of the opening, so he decided to fight for advantage here. So whoever wins this wins the match. If it's a draw, we continue playing until sudden death. Castle, h3. h3 is a venomous system against the King's Indian. Very often white pushes g4, and positionally squeezes black. So here e5 is the main move, and I have tried using it with some success in my tournament practice. But here I play c5, and I'm a little bit tilted, so I decide, you know what, I'll go attack you now, and I go b5. This is the gambit that actually I'm sure somebody else played it as well, but I invented it over the board at some point. The idea is that white cannot take with the knight because the e4 pawn will be hanging, so white should take with the pawn, and it's something like the Benko gambit, a similar version of to the Benko gambit. Maybe it's even a transposition, I don't know. And here I go a6, and he takes, and he started taking some time thinking, so the opening was a success for me, even though the engine says white is better, white is up a pawn, but I have counterplay. Very often in those gambits, the B and A files give sufficient counterplay for black, especially in faster time controls. So I take, and I go queen a5. Now this knight is pinned, and knight e4 is a threat. He goes knight d2 back. Now I go knight c7, rotating the knight. Maybe I want to go here. Maybe I want to go here, put pressure. Lots of ideas for black here. He goes bishop e2, and I go rook b8. I'm attacking the pawn. And once he goes here, I go queen b4, and suddenly black is better already, because this pawn is hanging, and this knight is pinned to the queen. And what do you do? How do you protect on e4? Of course, you can go f3, but this looks so ugly. Now the dark squares around the king are weak, so I can go here and here, for example. And yeah, he did not want to go for this. He decided to give up the pawn. And now I won the pawn back, and I still have the attack. It's -1. Black is dominating, and I'm also up on time. He goes bishop here. I go queen a4. I think it's actually the first line of the engine. The queen is surprisingly safe here, because usually you should not put your queen on a4 because the knight will attack it. But the knight is on b3, and it cannot touch the queen, even though they are very close. And this pawn cannot march forward. This queen is blockading it. And also, like, the queen is rather active here. It can do anything it wants. Very, very nice square for the queen. Queen c1, and now go bishop a6, attacking the rook. And now I go bishop d3. This is a little bit of a strange maneuver, maybe a superficial one, but I wanted to push c4 and to open up these files, these diagonals, to put pressure on b2. That's the idea. And here he makes a mistake. He ignores my threat and allows c4. And now, if his knight moves, the b2 pawn will be taken, and then these are the threats. Very, very, very bad position for white. He has to create some chaos, which he does. He thinks for some time and goes knight c5. So the idea is that if I take, he'll take here. And also my queen is hanging. But still, I take, of course. And I take on b2. I could have taken with the bishop, but I decided that taking with the rook is even nicer. Because I'm not in a rush. I will be able to take on a2 maybe. This rook will always be hanging, but maybe my bishop is not worse than this rook. I'm not in a rush to win an exchange here. He goes queen e3, and it's another mistake because I go bishop d4, and now this square is weak, so I'm completely winning, but I have just 1 minute to win this game, which is not that easy. He takes, I take with the rook. Again, I could have taken with the bishop, but taking with the rook is even better, because I'm now threatening some discovered checks, so he has to drop back. And I still can win this exchange, and I thought for some time, and I decided to take it and take rook e8. Also is a nice move, because my queen is protecting this square, and whenever you can attack your opponent's piece and develop your own piece with the tempo, you should do it. It's the best move according to the engine. So the queen drops back, taking the pawn, but I don't care about this pawn. Here, the easiest win would have been rook takes f3, and I somehow missed it, because after this is very annoying. And if he goes here, queen here, rook e2, and he has no way to defend this. Unfortunately, I did not think of this at the time, even though, like, if it was like a rapid format, definitely I would have found it. It's the move in my style. I love sacrifice and exchanges, but I took a pawn, also decent. He goes here. He tries to preserve the pieces on the board, because otherwise it will not be good for him. Now I go rook e1. I try to exchange the pieces because I'm up material. He goes here. He like tries to hold on to the alive. And here I start going crazy. Like, I completely outplayed my opponent. I have a winning position. I have 20 seconds. He has 43 seconds, so I should play faster. And I start going in the wrong direction. I take, which is not that bad. Still, I'm minus 4.5, completely winning. But now I have to find some calm move like queen d7, or maybe bishop e4, trying to trade some pieces and to win the endgame. But I somehow go queen a1. I decide to go for activity, maybe go rook e1, but I forget completely that everything is protected. I don't have anything here. I also think maybe I'll push my pawn, but this is bad because whenever you are winning, you do not have to do anything crazy. You have to just stop opponent's counterplay, and opponent's counterplay is pushing this pawn. And I completely forget about this. So here, the only winning move for me remained bishop f5, but it's still winning. Like I give up that pawn, but I'm still completely winning in this position. But instead, I just neglect this pawn. I have, at this point, I have 3 seconds, and I go c3. I shouldn't have gotten down to my last seconds here. And after d7, I'm suddenly losing, and it's a heartbreak. I realize rook d8, queen c7, and I'm lost. I go rook f8, and then realize, like, by the way, I went rook f8 with 0 seconds on the clock. So I made this move like at exactly 0.0 seconds. But yeah, I realized immediately that he can just take and queen, but still it would have been lost either way. Rook d8, queen e7 is winning in the easiest fashion. So he takes, he promotes, he checks me, and he checks me again. Now whatever I do, he'll take my bishop and he'll win easily. And here I flag, and I lose on time, and I lose the fight for the first place, which is why I have 2 medals. One is for the gold in Almaty, the first stage, and the cup. And this is the second medal, a silver one, second place among the whole Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, I was this close, but my opponent in the end went better in time trouble. Probably I should train playing in time pressure. I'll try streaming more blitz on Twitch and on YouTube as well for you guys to train the skill. And still, it was a nice event. I won around $600 US prize, which is of course not what professionals make from chess. Not a huge amount of money, but still a nice one. It's nice to sometimes win money and not just spend money on chess. So that's it. Write your impressions, your comments, your opinions in the comments, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.